Hi, everybody. Michael DDA here. I'm so glad you're there. We are going to cover Exodus 34 today. I hate to say it, but it's probably going to be a little bit longer than some of the other ones that we have been doing. Lately, they've been right around an hour. I think this one's probably going to be maybe an hour, 15, hour and a half, perhaps. Let's get started. Let me say this. The very last thing we saw was that Yehovah had given Moses the commandments. And so now, in the very next chapter, the one we're doing today, it says, and Yehovah said to Moses, oh, no, I take it back. They went up. He gave them the commandments a couple chapters ago, 32. And they had committed adultery, literally adultery. They took another husband besides Yehovah, a golden calf. And Moses had gone up to get Yehovah's forgiveness for them, which he did. And so now Moses is still up there, and it says this, and Yehovah said to Moses, cut 2 tablets of stone, like the first ones, and I will write on these tablets the words that were on the first tablet, which you broke. Notice it's the same words that were on the first tablets. It appears to be the 10 Commandments. But we have 2 sets. Let me go through, because I think this is very interesting. I think it fits into Jeremiah 31, where it talks about a new commandment I will give you. And I want to discuss that today because I think it's really important. So this portion that I'm going to go through is a little bit of my work and a little bit of Glenn McWilliams' work. You know, I've had many teachers that I had great respect for through the years. And I outgrew all of them. I began to see things that they didn't see. And I moved on. Glenn McWilliams was a very wise man. He had some blind spots, but he was a very wise man. I deeply respected him. He's not teaching anymore, which is why I use the past tense. I'm sure he's fine. But yeah, he's not teaching anymore. But some of these comments are his comments. Usually the ones that begin with talking about we must note, those kinds of things. So let me read my notes. Let me read our notes, if you will, Glenn's and mine. I'm going to point out some things that he mentions that are different than some of my understandings, but they're close. But what he's got to say ultimately is fascinating, and I think we need to take it to heart. In fact, I'm calling this class today, what am I calling this class today? A new commandment with a question mark. What's written on your hearts? This is what it's all about. So let me go through now and read this note. I know it's long. I apologize. It's going to make the class longer, but I think it's the center point. I mean, it's the focus, I think, of this class for me, which is why I chose to call it this, what I did. And Moses turned and went down from the mountain. And Moses went down from the mountain, and the 2 tablets of the testimony were in his hand. The tablets were written on both sides, one side, and on the other they were written. Now the tablets were the work of God, work of Elohim. And the writing was the writing of Elohim, engraved on the tablets. We talked about this when we were in 32. This was the first set. Now we have the second set that's going to be coming. It goes along with the verse we just read. So I'm reading on the right in case you hadn't noticed. So he cut 2 tablets of stone, like the first ones. Then Moses rose early in the morning and went up to Mount Sinai as Yehovah commanded him. And he took in his hand the 2 tablets of stone. Moses, returning with the hand-carved empty tablets of stone, is a very significant shadow picture for us. Yes, it is. We should note, there he goes, we should note, you can tell Glenn McWilliams wrote this. We should note that the emphasis upon the fact that Moses breaks the first tablets we were told were the work of Yehovah. He probably didn't say Yehovah. Like I said, I've edited it a little bit. And he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end to communing with him on Mount Sinai, 2 tablets of the testimony, tablets of stone written by the finger of Elohim. And the tablets were the work of Elohim, and the writing was the writing of Elohim, graven upon the tables. So he says this: the first tablet represents the covenant. The first tablet representing the covenant were the work of Yehovah and were given to the sons of Israel. Notice he talks about the sons of Israel. He never talks about the children of Israel, which I greatly respect. He knows they're men, at least for the most part. He knows they're men. Sometimes he wants to include women in his comments, but he knows they're men, sons of Israel. I say Israel's seed. They are the Ezra men, the second-born men. Let my son, my Bekor, my firstborn go that he may serve me. It's the men who serve Yehovah. So, that said, the second tablets are the work of Moses and are brought with him up the mountain so that Yehovah can write on them. Here we see a shadow picture of the first covenant and the renewed covenant. So interesting. So now we're going to turn to Jeremiah 31. Look what it says. Behold, the days are coming, says Yehovah, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers the day that I took them by the hand and led them out of the hand of Egypt. That would be implying the first covenant, or the first tablets. My covenant, which they broke, though I was a husband to them. Oh, so interesting that he would say he is a husband to them. You know, a man is meant to serve only Yehovah. A woman is meant to serve only her man. Every woman should have a man. So he says, my covenant which they broke, though I was a husband to them, says Yehovah. But this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, says Yehovah. I will put my law in their minds and write it on their hearts. See, this is the significance of the second set that Moses is bringing up. We're, in a sense, bringing Yehovah our hearts. We don't know his statutes and judgments, but we want him to write them on us so that we can follow only him. I will put my law in their hearts, in their minds, and write it on their hearts. And I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Now, who are we talking to? Are we talking about the ladies? No, no, no. Listen to what Yehovah says here in Isaiah 62. As a young man, Baal's, there's the word Baal, same word that he's using here for husband in 31. As a young man, Baal's a virgin, so thou shalt marry. So thou, he's talking, this is Isaiah speaking, so thou shalt marry thy sons. Yehovah marries his sons, not his daughters. He's got nothing to say to the daughters because the men are the one who influences the daughters. And as a bridegroom rejoices over the bride, so shall thy Elohim rejoice over you. This is Glenn again. Let's take careful note of the marriage imagery in Jeremiah's prophecy. Yehovah describes himself as a husband, a Baal to Israel. Again, we're talking about Israel's seed, the Ezra men. Those are the only ones who are his sons and whom he is a Baal over. Yehovah likewise makes specific reference to the fact that he led Israel out of the land of Egypt. How did they come out? 600,000 Gabor men, Israel's seed, and the mixed multitude that's going to go with them. Didn't say anything about ladies. It did mention children, though. Okay, let us take special note that Yehovah clearly indicts the sons of Israel for breaking the covenant. But he does not forsake the sons of Israel. Instead, Yehovah makes a new covenant with them. Oh, yes. Is it new? The word translated in the passage, and I look today, every single translation says a new covenant in 31:31. There is some deception going on here, you guys. We miss it. But it's obvious because he's taken his law and putting it on their minds and hearts. What's new about that? Well, let's find out what the story is. The word translated in this passage as new is the Hebrew word kadash. Chet, or ket, dalet, sin, which has the same root as the word kadesh, which is translated as month. The word Kodesh is a reference to the cycle of the moon, which indicates the month. Kodesh, therefore, does not mean new, which is how they translated it. That's where Strong's puts it. Does not translate as new in a sense of something brand new that has never existed before. Rather, it means a cycle or renewal of something. In other words, we should understand the above passage to read, "Behold, the days are coming, says Yehovah, I will make with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah a renewed covenant." The sovereign one, he's translating God as sovereign one, Elohim, is not making a completely different covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Instead, Yehovah is renewing the previous covenant, which Israel broke in spite of all Yehovah had done for them. Moses went up to the mountain the first time empty-handed. The tablets brought down were completely the work of Yehovah. Maybe he does use Yehovah. I think I changed it. These first tablets represent the first covenant, which was completely independent from the sons of Israel, Israel's seed. and outside of them. They didn't have anything to do with it. They just got it. In this regard, the covenant was something imposed from the outside of the sons of Israel. It is clear that the sons of Israel never fully embraced this covenant. But this time, Moses goes up to the mountain. Yehovah instructs him to bring the stone tablets with him. These stone tablets are a symbol of the tablets of our hearts. We're bringing them to Yehovah. Yehovah then proceeds to write the same words upon these second tablets as he did on the first. Nothing has changed. And Yehovah said to Moses, hew these 2 tablets of stone like the first, and I will write on them the tablets of the words that were on the first tablets, which thou broke. Note, he always used the King James Version. Note that the context of the first covenant and the renewed covenant is exactly the same. The same thing was written upon the first tablets as are written on the second tablets. The only difference between the first covenant and the renewed covenant is the location of where it's written. If the second set of tablets represents the believer, a man, coming to Yehovah with the tablets of his heart, then we should understand that the same thing that was written on the first stone tablets is now being written on the tablets of the heart. I told you this was long. We're almost done. This is the same one, but it has renewed in it. Behold, the days are coming, says Yehovah, and I will make a renewed covenant. Look what it says at the end. I will put my law in their minds and write it on their heart. That's what's new about it, where it's written. Then I will sprinkle, this is Ezekiel 36, then I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you shall be clean. I will cleanse you from all the filthiness and from your idols. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I will take the heart of stone out of your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes and keep my judgments and do that. After Moses presents the tablets to Yehovah, Elohim writes on them the very heart of the covenant. What is the very heart of the covenant? Here it is. Exodus 34:28. And he was there with Yehovah 40 days and 40 nights. He did neither eat nor drink. And he wrote on the tablets the words of the covenant, the 10 Commandments. Let us understand the imagery clearly. As a believer, we, men, are to come to Yehovah with empty tablets of our heart in order that Yehovah may write his covenant upon them. Oh, that is so beautiful. Well, we made it to verse 2. Be ready in the morning and come up in the morning to Mount Sinai and present thyself to me there on top of the mountain. And no man shall come up with thee. And let no man be seen throughout the mountain. Let neither flock, sheep and goats, or herds, cattle, feed before that mountain. Notice it says man. How come it says let no man or woman? Because only men are on the mountain at this time. The women, the children, the servants, the ger are all down at Raphadim. We have been up at this point for 80 plus days. It's a long time to be separated from your family. I'm sure they're wondering, what is going on? Man, let no man. Ish is the word they use there. There are no lady ish. So he cut 2 tablets of stone like the first ones. Then Moses rose up early in the morning and went up to Mount Sinai. This is the 7th time he's going up the mountain. He's been a busy guy. As Yehovah commanded him, and he took in his hand the 2 tablets of stone. Now Yehovah descended in a cloud. Wow, big surprise, huh? Yehovah always comes in a cloud. Descended in a cloud and stood with him there and proclaimed. The word that they use for proclaim, it says, and he called out. He called out the name of Yehovah. It says Yehovah descended and stood with him there. Stood with him, Moses, there, and proclaimed the name of Yehovah. You know, for a long time, I thought it was Moses that was proclaiming the name of Yehovah. But I was wrong. Yehovah is proclaiming his own name. What do I have here? I don't want to go into all that. It's not worth it. I gotta skip some things just so we can get done in time. And Yehovah passed before him and proclaimed. There it is. What did I say proclaim meant? He called out and called out. Yehovah, Yehovah, El. There it is. Strength, mighty, almighty. El. It's the short form of Elohim, the lawmaker and judge. Merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abounding in goodness and truth. I've got a note for this. Here it is. I'm switching over to the right side, you guys. Abounding in truth, keeping mercy for thousands, lifting perversity. Lifting perversity. This is Avan. We're going to talk about Avan again. Lifting perversity. This they put forgiving sin. Very poor translation. Lifting perversity. Here, I'll just show you. Here's lifting. To lift. To lift. Perversity. Avan. This perversity. Evil. Not sin. We're going to talk about sin. And rebellion. And sin. Kata'ah. Rebellion is pasha. You know, some of these words, Avan, Kata'ah, are things that we've got to start having become a part of our thinking, understanding. So many people think that they were created in the image of Elohim. Adam was created in the image of Elohim, but he sinned. And when he sinned, then he had Abel and Cain and Seth, it says, was born in Adam's image and in his likeness. Do you see there's a difference there? The difference is this inclination to do evil. Stay with me. This is really important stuff that we're talking about today. I've spent a lot of time on this. Inclination to do evil and rebellion and sin. By no means clearing the guilty. Visiting a father's perversity, inclination to do evil. Notice, well, here, I'll mention it here on just a second when I'm finished with this. A father's inclination to do evil upon sons and upon sons' seed. They put children and children's children. No, sons and sons' seed. We've got to understand. Don't go with the understandings that you have. You're going to have to develop new understanding if you're going to understand Yehovah's word. to the third and the fourth generation. So at first I thought, oh, well, good, we're past the third or fourth generation. But no, that's wrong. It's the father's inclination to do evil. It gets passed down. If the second generation does it, then the third and the fourth generation are going to get it. And it just goes on and on and on. I was born with avan, the inclination to do evil. You can break the cycle. How do you do it? Returning to Yehovah and writing his statutes and judgments and ordinances, his law, his Torah on your heart. That's how you break it. I put Yehovah is visiting the father's perversity, inclination to do evil, avan, upon their seed. This is what every man is born with. The seed of Belial. Oh, this is so interesting. And I wrote a whole article about this. I'm going to turn to it here. I've got it up right here, ready to go. Oh, that's not it. Here it is, seed of Belial. You can find it on my site. We are Israel. Creation of man. Here's creation of man, and here's the seed of Belial. You need to read this. I'm going to post it on my YouTube video and on my. I'll post it here too. I was going to post it on my YouTube video and my Rumble video, but I'll post it on here too. You got to read it. It's important. Going back, the seed of Belial, not rebellion or sin. Okay, they're not born with rebellion and sin. They're born with the avan, the inclination to do evil. You got to break the cycle. The seed, multi-generational sons, will choose that for themselves. Yes, the rebellion and the sin is what they're going to choose for themselves. Most people just do what all their fathers have done all along. And that is the way of destruction. This means every man is born with the same inclination to do evil. And Yehovah will reward every man according to his deeds, the fruit of his actions. Notice this word avan, here's the word avan, inclination to do evil, is related to the parents. Oh, isn't that interesting? Let's move on. So Moses made haste and bowed his head toward the earth and worshipped. Then he said, if now I have found favor in your sight, in thy sight. Oh, it says, oh, there is no O. I made that the wrong color. I meant to make that red. I'm going to make it red right now. Just because I want you to remember, maybe this is a good way to reinforce this. When you see O, it's added to the text. It doesn't exist. There we go. It says, Adonai, my master, if I have found grace in thy sight, my master, let my master, I pray, go amongst us. Even though he says we, he's including himself, is he stiff-necked? Even though we are a stiff-necked people, and pardon our iniquity. What is the word that they're talking about there? Pardon our iniquity. Our van. What did I say? Was it that it called in the last verse? Inclination to do evil. Pardon our inclination to do evil. Whoops, wrong one. Pardon our inclination to do evil and our sin. Kata'ah. That's the kata'ah. That's the sin. And take us as thy inheritance. Moses calls Yehovah Adonai. Everyone else, all the men, call Moses Adonai, my Lord. Moses, with a humble spirit, even includes himself among the people. Did he have a stiff neck? I don't think Moses had a stiff neck. Remember, Moses is the current Melchizedek. And he said, he's got the rod of Elohim. And he said, behold, this is Yehovah now. Behold, I will make a covenant. I will make a covenant before all thy people. He calls them Moses' people. I will do marvels such as have not been done on the earth, nor in any nation. And all the people whom thou art, and among all the people whom thou shall see, and all the people among whom thou art shall see the work of Yehovah. For it is an awesome thing that I will do with thee. This promise has I don't even want to go there. Again, we should continue to understand that thy people, are men. His Ezra, women and children, even the ger, are the responsibility of their man, the head of the gates. 11. Observe what I command thee this day. Behold, I am driving out from before thee the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. You know, we read these and we don't really think about what they mean. We don't know who they are. Where do they come from? What does it mean? I want to let you see, here are the sons of Canaan. I'm reading here. And Canaan begat Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, the Jebusites, and Amari, Girgashi, Hivi, Arki, Senite, or the Seni, Arvadi, Zamari, and the Kamati. These are their names. That's why they have the ites at the end of them. Afterwards, the families of the Canaanites were dispersed. Yasher, notice, if you count this the way most people count this, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Canaan only had 10 sons. This is Ket, the Jebusites. Now, it gets harder. And I had to dig really years to find out the answer to what was going on here. And I added it to my note below, which is Yasher. Read the next thing. It says, Canaan's seed were Zidon, Ket, also called the Ketites, or the Hittites, or the Hittites. They're the Ketites or the Hittites, and also the Jebusites, because it's saying here that I didn't spell that, K-H-E-T, that Ket is the Jebusites. So when we talk I'll tell you in just a second. Let me go through this. And the sons of Canaan were Zidon, Ket, called the Ketites or the Kittites, Jebusites, and Jebusites, Amari, Girgashi, Hivi, Arki, Seni, Arodi, Zimodi, and Kamati. Kamoti. Now, with this understanding, look what we have for our verse. We're talking about Amari. Is this man here? Amari. That's the Amorites. Then we have Canaanites. Well, the Canaanites, they're all Canaanites, except for the Perizzite. We'll talk about them in a second. But here they put Hittites. That's Het. That's Het. They're Hittites. But we can't see it, and we don't understand who these people are. And if we want to understand the bloodlines of future events, we've got to understand that the Hittites, or Hittites and Hittites and Hittites. It's all transliteration in our Bibles. The way that we turn it from Hebrew into English is transliteration. They're all transliteration except for the Jebusites. There's nobody called Jebus. He's Ket. That's why they say Ket the Jebusites. What's the next one? Look here. We have the Canaanites. We have the Getites, which is Het. The Perizzites. Is there somebody called Perizzi? No. What the Perizzites are is foreigners that have come into their land, into the Canaanites' land. They live with them. Sounds a little bit like the people that are coming into our land right now. Our land, the U.S. land right now. My land is not the U.S. land. I'm concerned about that, but it's not my land. I have another land. I am Ezra Haaretz, the Ezra of the land. It's about the land and the seed, remember? So there's the Perizzites. They're not even one of the sons of Canaan. Then we have Hivites, and the Jebusites is the Gittite. Remember, I said Jebusite and Gittite are the same thing. So there's a lot of confusion going on here. We've got to sort it all out. Well, I'll leave you with that knowledge. Like I say, it took a long time to figure it out. Take heed to yourself, thyself, lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land where you're going. Have we made covenants with the inhabitants of the land where you're going? Driver's license, birth certificates, Social Security, hunting licenses, business licenses, fishing licenses. They're all covenants. Lest it be a snare in your midst. Yehovah is telling us what not to do. Well, I'll go through that note. And thou, does it say thou? You know, the best way to check to see if it's a thou or a thee is to look. It's a ye. It is the ye. Is to look at King James Version. They do it very well. But y'all shall destroy their altars. I think it's interesting. He says you're all. Remember, he's talking to Moses. But he says y'all shall destroy their altars. Break down their sacred pillars, cut down their wooden images. For thou shalt worship no other Elohim, for Yehovah, for Yehovah, whose name is jealous, is a jealous Elohim. Who do we worship? Who do we serve? Most people serve the Elohim of the land, the lawmakers and judges of the land. Can't do that. We have to follow Yehovah. Lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they play the harlot with their Elohim, and make sacrifices to their Elohim. And one of them invites you and you eat of his sacrifice. You know, it doesn't say sacrifice. It's a slaughter. Remember, slaughters are things that we're going to eat. So it says that the inhabitants of the land are going to play the harlot. How do they play the harlot with their gods? Who are their gods? We're finding out right now that they are Satan is their gods. The people who are slaughtering our animals are slaughtering it to Satan. They say they're slaughtering it to the temple. This is halal meat. No, halal meat has to do with meat sacrifice to Allah. But kosher meat are the Jews, remember, who are turning out to be the Khazarians, are slaughtering it to their gods. And what do? They put it in the grocery stores and invite you to eat it. There's a reason why I don't eat meat unless I grow it or at least buy it from somebody and slaughter it myself. Yeah, here's the words covenant, barit. I make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land. Commit adultery. We're going to see this word again, commit adultery, in the next verse. They play the harlot with their Elohim. It's Elohim. Their Elohim. But this is their small Elohim. They're lawmakers and judges. There's many Elohim in the world. But Yehovah is the only Elohim who is the creator and judge of all. And both times it's a slaughter. Slaughter. Then we have, and you shall take of his daughters, for your sons. No, you shall take of his daughters. What does that mean? That doesn't make sense. Lest, there's the key word there. Lest you make a covenant, lest you take of his daughters for your sons, and his daughters play the harlot with their Elohim, and make you, your sons, thy sons, play the harlot with their Elohim. You shall make no molded Elohim for yourself. Those are the images that we made, like the golden calf. Make us a God that can go before us. You shall make no molded calves. This is the second time he's talked about not making a molded image. There's something that he talks about way more times than he talks about this. Then he goes on. He's changing tune a little bit. The Feast of Unleavened Bread. Thou shalt keep. 7 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread as I commanded thee. In the appointed time, in the month of the Aviv, for in the month of the Aviv, you came out of the land of Egypt. Aviv is not the name of a month. It's the month where the barley crop is in the Aviv. That's going to be the first month of the year. What does my note say? Probably I just have a long discourse on this. Yeah, this month shall be the beginning of months for you. Yehovah has been making distinction between Israel, and all other nations. Life begins for Israel's seed with their liberation from the bondage of the kingdom of their birth. That's what it is. Remember, it wasn't until we ate the Passover that we were allowed to leave Egypt. All really were born in Egypt. There was nobody left at that point. 210 years, not 430 years. 210 years we had been in Egypt. The original sons of Jacob lived about 100. I think the longest one lived to be 105 years old. But, then Joseph died. And things got different when we got that new king. That's when we got under bondage. He goes on. Nope, I take it back. We're here. All that open the womb are mine. The rakah, here's the word that they use. All who open the rakam are mine. Every male, there are no female. The female is a nekabah. Female goat, female animal, female anything is a nekabah. This is zakar. These are males. Every male firstling among thy livestock, whether ox or sheep. But the firstborn of the donkey thou shalt redeem with a lamb. And if thou wilt not redeem him, then you shall break his neck. All the firstborn of thy sons, so we're talking about sheep, goats, donkeys, cattle, all the firstborn of thy sons thou shalt redeem. How do we redeem our sons? It's 5 shekels of the shekel of the sanctuary. And none shall appear before Yehovah empty-handed. But the firstborn of a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb. Oh, I kind of read this already. I guess I really don't need to do it. The firstling, they say the firstborn of the donkey. It's the thy ass's firstling is really what it says. It's only one word. Thy ass's firstling. Thy ass's firstling. You shall redeem with a lamb. Then he talks about the firstborn, the Bekor, and then sons. Where are they using here? Thy sons. It's their sons. This is not seed. This is sons, even though it looks like it. But the transliteration or the conjugation when they add the in there is changing it to thy sons. I put the redemption price as 5 shekels of the shekel of the sanctuary. I looked it up this morning. And in case you're wondering, we're talking about male firstborn. Bekor, here is the female firstborn, is called Bekarah. Bekarah. This is why the barley harvest must be in the Aviv all over the land of Israel. Every man must bring his first fruits. A lot of times here, where do we have this? We're here. Why is this on this verse? Redeemer, break its neck. Oh, none of you shall appear empty-handed. Everybody's got to bring something. What do you bring to the feast of unleavened bread? You bring your first fruits of the barley harvest. The barley can't be just available on Aviv in 2 fields. This is what many do. And so they end up celebrating the Passover a month early. It's got to be an Aviv all over Israel. Because every man must bring his first fruits. What did he say? None shall appear before me empty-handed. This is what we bring, our first fruits. Then look at this. 6 days you shall work, but on the 7th day you shall rest. Oh my goodness. This is the 4th time that Yehovah has talked about his Sabbath. Do you think he might be trying to make a point? This is important to him. And you know what? Next week, I'm pretty sure it's going to be seen again for the 5th time. 6 days thou shalt work. On the 7th day you shall rest. 6-1, 6-1, 6-1, 6-1. It's a rhythm that does not change. And thou shalt observe the Feast of Weeks. Look at that. We had unleavened bread. Did anybody notice that something's missing with the Feast of Unleavened Bread? How about Passover? Where's Passover? That's what I was asking myself. What the heck's going on here? Then he talks about the Feast of Weeks. You shall observe the Feast of Weeks of the first fruits of the wheat harvest and the Feast of Gatherings at the end of the year. Look what he says next. 3 times a year, all your men. Oh, look, it doesn't even say men, it says males. All your males shall appear before the master. Makes me wonder if we bring our sons. Remember, in order for us to be Ezra men, we have to be circumcised in all of our household. So that means our sons are circumcised. Do they start coming with us to the feasts? I think they might. It says all your males. All thy males shall appear before Yehovah. Yehovah shall appear before Adonai. There it is. I'm sure it says Adonai here. Shall appear before the master, Adonai. Shall appear before the master. Where am I reading? Adonai, Yehovah, Elohim of Israel. You know, it always has to have Yehovah, comma, Elohim of Israel. He's Yehovah, the Elohim of Israel. Well, this is not the first time. This is the first of 3 times he's going to tell us this. Deuteronomy says, 3 times a year, all thy males shall appear before Yehovah, thy Elohim, in a place which he chooses. At the Feast of Unleavened Bread, at the Feast of Weeks, at the Feast of Tabernacles, and they shall not appear before Yehovah empty-handed. So we're doing 34 right now. Here in 23, it says, 3 times a year, all your males shall appear before the master, Adonai, the Adonai, Yehovah. So there's 3 times that it says it, but there's one time, Deuteronomy 31 says this, and Moses commanded them, saying, at the end of every 7 years, at the appointed time, in the year of release. The year of release is when the servants go free and debt is cleared. In the year of release, all Israel comes to appear before Yehovah. When all Israel comes to appear before Yehovah, remember, Israel are the Ezra men. In the place which he calls, you shall read the law before all Israel in their hearing. Gather the people together, men and women, little ones, and the stranger who is within your gates. The servants, they'll come, they're taking care of the plantation, that they may hear, that they may learn to fear Yehovah, your Elohim. And I think, the men are teaching their women and their ger and their sons and daughters the ways of Yehovah. This comes to a point they're coming and they can say, oh, this is what Dad was talking about. This is what my master was talking about. If it's a ger, Yehovah, your Elohim, and carefully observe the words of this law. Let's go to the next verse. For I will cast out the nations before thee, and enlarge thy borders. Neither will any man covet thy land. And when thou go out to appear before Yehovah, your Elohim, 3 times a year, oh, I guess I read that wrong. Neither shall any man covet thy land when thou goest to to appear before Yehovah the Elohim 3 times a year. In other words, he's saying, even though the whole family's going, it's safe. Yehovah is going to protect it. Yeah, there's servants there. They got to take care of the animals. Maidservants have to take care of the house. They've all got things they got to do. But now look what it says, verse 25. Did I have front here? Every man. Good. Let's just talk about this. You shall not offer the blood of my slaughter. Remember, I said slaughter is the things that we're going to eat with leaven. Nor shall the slaughter of the feast of Passover be left until morning. I said to myself, I'm glad that's there. We are doing Passover. The first fruits of thy land, the first fruits, here it is, first fruits is Rashit. First sheet of thy land. First fruits is Bikor. Bikor, remember, was men. Bekorah was women. Thou shalt bring to the house of Yehovah thy Elohim. Yehovah thy Elohim. Thou shalt not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. Where does this come from? I think it has to do with what the people of Canaan were doing. He says, don't do it. I'm sure there's lots of things that people are doing right now that Yehovah would say, don't do it. Then Yehovah said to Moses, write these words, for in accordance to the tenor of these words, I have made a covenant with thee and with Israel. Let me tell you what it really says. Then Yehovah said, write for thyself the words of my mouth, the logos, the words that Yehovah speaks. Peter says that we don't understand. I hate using New Testament things, but I think it's appropriate. We fail, or we're confused because we don't understand the logos. Was it logos? The words of Elohim. We don't understand them. Christians don't even read them. Of course they don't understand them. We got to listen to the words that Yehovah speaks. There's nothing in the New Testament that was spoken by Yehovah. Where does it say one time, thus says Yehovah? Never. Then Yehovah said to Moses, I read that. We're going down to here. So he was there with Yehovah 40 days and 40 nights. This is the second of the 40 days and 40 nights. Plus, we've had other times where he's come up and down and back and forth. So it's 80 plus days. We'll see that next week. He never ate bread nor drank water. How you do that? I don't know. Maybe Yehovah preserved him. And he wrote on the tablets the words of the covenant. What are the words of the covenant? The 10 Commandments. Now, obviously, there's way more than that. And now it was so when Moses came down from Mount Sinai. This is the 7th time that he's going down for the 7th time after another 40 days. The people waited for him this time. I think that's interesting. Was Yehovah testing them to see if they would do some stupid thing again? Like creating a golden calf? And the 2 tablets of the testimony were in Moses' hand when he came down from the mountain. Moses did not know that his skin shone while he talked with him, with Yehovah. So Aaron and Israel's seed saw Moses, and behold, the skin of his face shone, and they were afraid to come near him. I found this in Yasher early on, talking about Enoch. Look what it says. And he did in this manner for many years, and afterwards concealed himself for 6 days, and appeared to his people one day in 7. There is the Sabbath. He was teaching on the Sabbath. And after that, once a month, and then once a year, until the kings, princes, sons of men, Adam's seed, Adam's seed, sought for him, and desired again to see the face of Enoch, and to hear his words, but they could not, as Adam's seeds were greatly afraid of Enoch, and they feared to approach him. Why? On account of his godlike awe that was seated upon his countenance. Therefore no man could look at him, fearing he might be punished or die. Remember, Moses is the current Melchizedek. Enoch was also a Melchizedek. We're almost done. In fact, I think if I do this, current Melchizedek, over here, do this, I get it to the top. Then Moses called to them. Aaron and all the rulers of a congregation returned to him, and Moses talked with them. This is Aaron and the 70 elders. Afterwards, all Israel came near, and he gave them the commandments. Was he giving them the tablets that Yehovah wrote on? Gave them the commandments. It says he gave them, not the commandments, gave them as commandments all that Yehovah had spoken with him. That was the words of Yehovah on Mount Sinai. And when Moses had finished speaking with them, he put a veil on his face. Why did he put it on after he finished speaking with them and not before he finished speaking with them? But whenever Moses went in before Yehovah to speak with him, this shining, what do we call it? Shining of his face. What do they call it? His face shone. That's all it says. I wonder if that is a very high frequency that Moses may have at this point, to the point that it's so high it illuminates him. I wonder. Can't prove it, but I got a hunch. And when Moses had finished speaking with them, he put on a veil. But whenever Moses went before Yehovah, this was in the tent of meetings, the Ohel Moed, before Yehovah to speak with him, he would take the veil off until he came out. He would come out and speak to Israel's seed, whatever he had been commanded. And whenever Israel's seed saw the face of Moses, that the skin of Moses shone, then Moses would put the veil on his face again until he went to speak with him, with Yehovah again. All right, well, we're going to stop here. This is the end of the chapter. Thank you for joining me. Next week, the men, Israel's seed, are going to return to Rephidim. Oh, very interesting things are going to start happening. We're going to start building the tabernacle. Where is this? There it is. The Mishnah, Mishnah, the tabernacle. Remember, up till now, it's always been the tent of meeting, but now we're going to start talking about Mishnah. All right. Thank you for joining me, you guys. I'm so glad you were here. I hope you stayed the whole time. There's always something. I try to find things that will educate you, which will give you knowledge and understanding and hopefully wisdom. Well, I'm doing my best. So thank you again for being with me. I really appreciate it. Catch you later. Bye now.